The story of slitting thighs to hide pearls. Once upon a time, a foreign king had an extremely valuable gift. The pearl has two strange things. One is that holding it in your hand seems very light, but wherever you put it, it feels heavy. Second, at night, the pearl shines brightly. No matter how hidden it is, the light still leaks out. From the moment he became the owner of the pearl, the king was very happy and hugged him day and night without letting go. But one day, he suddenly lost his wings and flew away. The king felt sorry for himself and ordered his subjects throughout the caves and alleys to search as hard as possible, but it was still ineffective. Only later, the king ordered someone to bring a telescope to look at it, only to find out that the jade had flown to the south. Immediately the king ordered a minister to take 500 soldiers and sit on several large boats, heading south. Whatever the king's orders, we must search for it. After many days of searching across the sea, the mandarin watching the telescope suddenly saw the pearl flying into the south, so he ordered his soldiers to chase in that direction. At that time, in Dai Lai village, Jia Bin district, there was a man named Dean Kai. One night, while he was playing in the yard, he suddenly saw a strange light flying down, illuminating the entire garden. He was surprised, but he also boldly ran to that place to look, but unexpectedly caught a pearl. Knowing that it was a rare thing in the world, he was so happy that he quickly took it home and kept it in a wooden box. But he was surprised to see that at night, the pearl's light still shined throughout the house. He put it in a covered iron barrel, but the iron barrel was not strong enough to cover the bright light. Afraid that the jade might be exposed and lost to someone else, he dug a hole and buried it. But no matter how deep you dig and bury it, it's all in vain. At night, jade still emits light. After many days of groping in every way, he realized that only by placing the pearl in the middle of raw meat could the light of the pearl be completely hidden. Finally, he risked taking a knife and slit his thigh, stuffing it with pearls and sewing it back up. From then on, his legs were so painful that he could not walk, but the treasure was completely hidden and no one knew. It is said that foreign military officials followed the jade trail to the Jia Bin area and suddenly disappeared. The telescope was no longer found. The mandarin then sent soldiers to explore the entire region, but all was in vain. There must be someone in this area who caught the pearl and knew how to hide it in the skin so the pearl no longer glows. The minister thought so. And he racked his brain to find a plan to bring the pearl back. He ordered his soldiers to set up a tent on an island in the middle of the river, then slaughtered cows and pigs for a grand feast. Then asked the district official here to invite all the men, women, and children from the villages to attend. Each person coming to the party must pass through a bamboo raft floating on the river, connected to the island. He also assigned a few people to stand at the bamboo raft to welcome them, telling him to immediately report to him if they saw someone passing by or the raft sinking. For several days in a row, villagers from all over the Jia Bin region, including Dai Bai villagers, flocked to the party, class after class, but no one had the weight to make the raft sink. The minister was still not discouraged. He tried to ask among the guests attending the village party to see if there was anyone left who hadn't gone yet. A person in Dai Lai village told me, "The only person in my village that lacks face is Mr. Dean Kai because he recently had a sore leg and couldn't go anywhere." Hearing that, the minister quickly ordered a few soldiers to prepare a stretcher and went to Mr. Dean Chi's house to instruct them to try to use good words to invite him away. As for Mr. Dean Kai, he did not know the hidden plot, so he listened to the invitation and happily got on the stretcher. Sure enough, because there was a pearl stuffed in the thigh of the stretcher, as soon as he stepped onto the bamboo raft, the raft swayed violently and sank into the water. Seeing that, the minister shouted, "Knock is here! I found this gem!" Unable to hide it anymore, Mr. Dean Kai had to confess everything. The minister said, "The emperor of our country lost a pearl. The pearl flew to your country. It was a lucky thing for you to catch that pearl. We don't mean to take it for free. But in order to have jade to submit to the emperor, I hope you will be willing to exchange either mandarins, silver or gold for us. Whatever you want, let me please you." Seeing that the officers had no malice, Mr. Dean Kai told them, "Pile up the money and carry it as high as a person's head from where I stand to where my lead ball stops." The foreign minister nodded. The discussion was resolved quickly. From then on, Mr. Dean Kai became rich, compared to few people in the country. News that Mr. Dean Kai suddenly became rich flew to the capital. The king then sent him back to the capital to ask about the matter. Seeing that he had strange good fortune, the king chose a princess to marry him and made him his son-in-law. Mr. Dean Kai and his wife lived together very well. The princess pampered him very much. Mr. Dean Kai thought his life couldn't be happier than that. But one day, a close friend of his came to visit from far away. He happily took you everywhere to see his massive private property. Seeing his friend constantly praising him, he seemed pleased. "Being as rich as me is truly the best in the country." Unexpectedly, those words reached the princess's ears. Unable to stand her husband's arrogance, in a moment of anger, the princess rushed back to tell her father. The king could not stop his anger, immediately summoned his son-in-law to return to court and ordered, "You brag that you are the richest in the country. Good! Now you compete with me to give money to the people. I give the first 3 days, you give the last 3 days. If I don't have enough money to distribute it, then it will be considered that what you say is correct. You will not be guilty of anything. But if you don't have enough money to give it out, it means you lied, despised the officials, and must be punished for peeling skin and stuffing it with rice husks to set an example for the world." Hearing the loud announcement, Mr. Dean Kai was extremely frightened. He fell down at the king's feet and begged for forgiveness. But the king's face was calm as if he didn't hear. Not knowing what else to do, he had to obey. After busy days transporting all the wealth to the capital, Mr. Dean Kai again appeared before the king. The contest started. In the first few days, the king distributed the medicine, but not many people knew the news, so there were few people who came to receive the medicine. Therefore, the amount of money the king advanced was still not fully distributed. But when it was Mr. Dean Kai Fat's turn, people everywhere heard about it, so they eagerly flocked to receive the diagnosis. Mr. Dean Kai kept giving away, emptying the entire vault but still not enough. When he ran out of money, he gave out rice from the warehouse, hoping to save lives. But unfortunately for him, the rice warehouses began to dwindle, but the flow of people was still pouring in like flowing water. So he had to give up. The king still did not pity the arrogant son-in-law. Mr. Dean Kai was captured by soldiers, stripped of his skin, stuffed with rice husks, and displayed in front of the city gate. All of his remaining assets were confiscated. Seeing her husband being wronged by her father, the princess felt remorseful. "So I'm the girl who killed her husband." That sentence always haunted her heart. Then one day, the princess gave all her land to the villagers and left to become a monk. Today in Dai Lai village there is still a field that the princess offered to the people. Some people call it Ma Field. Some people also call it Jade Field. 1. Archaeology. The complete history of Dai Viet tells a story about getting a jade that is almost similar to the above story. During Tran Minh Tong's time, Go Dan's father caught a very large centipede jade. Duong brought the jade to the silver trading station in Ban Dan to sell it on his behalf. A foreign merchant shipowner knew it was rare, so he used all his capital to own the pearl. Thanks to that, Dan became very rich. King Minh Tong heard the news, summoned him back to the capital to marry Princess Wei Sun, and made him his concubine. Go Dan believed he was rich, had an affair with another woman, and often spoke contemptuously of the princess. The princess brought this matter to the king. But unlike Ding Chi's fate, here Go Dan was spared death by the king, only confiscating his family's property. 1. According to the words of Bac Ninh people, documents by Le Thuoc and Ho Vi. Thank you for joining us for today's fairy tale. We hope these stories bring joy and meaning to your day. If you love our channel, please hit the subscribe button so you won't miss any exciting tales. Wishing you a good night and sweet dreams. See you in the next story.